Terrorism. What does it mean? First, do no harm, or you are not a doctor. It is normal to be scared. You are trespassing on the noble assembly. So what is the difference between terrorism and security? First, I will put it in simple terms, and then I will explore the subject at length. My name is Noel D. Smith. I was born here. I ain't leaving. You got a problem with it? Say it to my face. Otherwise, your intentions are clear. They said that when fascism returns, it will call itself anti-fascism. They said it'll be holding an American flag and a Bible. So Christians and Americans and anti-fascists are out. Sounds like something a fascist would say. Ask any archaeologist, any anthropologist. What humans desire is trade. First, I shall do no harm. And then I carry this flag because this package going where I'm going under color of law. Peace is inherent when you're minding your own business. We already had peace. Oh, Islam means peace. I forgot to tell you first. Here's the context, okay? Islam means peace. If you don't like Islam, it must mean you don't want peace. They're here to sell us their surplus, their extra peace for us. Aryans just want trade. First, I shall do no harm. And then there's no sovereignty without dueling. You can't say we're not allowed to go to trial, but not duel me. You have a problem or not? What do you want to do about it? First, do no harm, and then there's the Olympics is the exception. It's where peace, that's the peace wars. And now the money that you're handling, now you can buy a cardinality at the Vatican. You're not just going to rip off the Catholics and take over the Vatican, try to flat earth everybody from a non-aggression pact in the devil's playground like it's Swiss neutrality. Gandhi says in his autobiography, which is a non-fiction book that one writes about oneself, that he was not Hindu. So does using Hindus as human shields for a pacifist non-aggression policy by marching them into the buttstock of a gun face first by the hundreds, thousands, I don't know, whatever it is, taking these people who you do not own and getting them hurt so you can say you're the victim. Does that make you a terrorist? I'll leave it up to you, dear viewer. Let's just say that of the two great philosophers, Jiddu Krishnamurti is my favorite. That's the one who said, it is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. You're not going to persecute every cattle rancher in the world and be like, oh, no, we just want peace. No, the cattle rancher, you ever met a cattle rancher? And it's not the Hindus' fault, because Hinduism allows common sense. Islam, it's haram. Common sense is forbidden. Tell me I'm wrong. You're a slave of the prophet or the infidel. Persecute or be martyred. Where do you hear common sense? Think of it like the New York Times, the Washington Post, the San Francisco, what is it, the Chronicle, the Herald, the Messenger. The Messenger of Allah. It means the world's dumbest news. It's so dumb that it actually defined terrorism as using violence for a political agenda. Like, okay, what's war? Did we change war? No, terrorism is when you're minding your own goddamn business, somebody comes along and fucks it up, acts like they're the boss. There is no treaty that is made with the United States of America that is made without the Constitutional Bill of Rights. It's not enforceable, so who's your representative? Like, Islam respects no church and state. They're skipping the embassy, they're skipping the White House, they're skipping the Capitol altogether. They're skipping the church, they're going door to door. First, do no harm, or you're not a doctor, okay? And if you're not a doctor, you don't tell my police what to do. My democracy has the Bill of Rights, paid for in the blood of a million redcoats. 1 billion, if that's what it takes. Religion is a search for universal and eternal truth, not an excuse. Letting a bunch of homos and fucking retards point the finger until you get whatever you want. It's not a religion. It might be policy, but it's not the Magna Carta. I am concerned about the health and well-being of the Hospitaller Order. The Order of Hospitaller Knights. Because first, do no harm, or you're not a doctor. Hospital or no goddamn hospital. They are a threat to themselves and others. They just can't figure out, like, the Teutonic Knights or the Templars. Well, let's just do our own jinglehead thing. Just be Teutonic Knights. Go back to the Teutons. The Teutoburgs will take you, and then I'll convert them to Catholic. I know how to do it. Are the Black Forest tribes ready to embrace the indoor plumbing, the roads, the medically ethical laws that Rome has to provide? I swore a Hippocratic Oath and sent it to the Vatican on Twitter, so Twitter is functioning as intended. First, do no harm, or you're not a doctor in any religion, and that works for Jews, Christians, Hindus, Buddhists, and even Muslims, if that's allowed. Aryans desire trade. And then there's the Olympics, if there's any discrepancy. And they should have lancers so England has a fair chance. Let's see your sumo wrestlers, London. It's just not fair. But whether Gandhi was in the best interest of the Hindus or not, Nigeria is not just going to buy a Vatican cardinality by ripping off the Catholics. Their closest neighbor in the Congo, official policy is they consume the bodies of their enemies. They eat the vanquished. Their closest neighbors in the Congo are officially cannibals. What are they worried about us for? The body and the blood of Christ? Well, it is the year of our Lord 2024, because that only happened once. We changed the date because we do not anticipate a repeat performance. You would have never heard of the Bible if it weren't for raping us and stealing our gold. First, I shall do no harm. And then, if I killed you, it was legal. If I raped you, it was eye to eye. It's totally illegal here. You could just call Washington. Come over here acting like you can't find me, but this one will do. Just rape whoever. Washington, Rome, Jerusalem, and I'm just going to say presumably Moscow. I'm not going to drag Moscow into it against their will, but as long as I have Washington, Rome, and Jerusalem, like London, are you coming? Chicken shit. Yella. They're yella. Still speak English? Not for long. First, I shall do no harm. And then religion is a search for universal and eternal truth. The government works for us. It's not an excuse. It's not a system of justifiable mistakes shared between however many jingleheads to shoot yourself in the foot, stab each other in the back, and blame somebody behind his back that will turn around and stomp on your pointy little head until there is nothing left but the footprints of Jesus. Is it a vendetta? You got a vendetta? I carry your cross. I don't like the exploitation of celebrities. I think the customs of the stage mean that the celebrities have the same policy as the judges. You couldn't think of that? Had to turn it into a racket. These actors, these singers, they have to memorize their lines, their lyrics. The judges, they have to know their Latin. It does not speak the words falsely. That's why they wear the gown and a little hammer, sometimes a wig, because they represent Thor. They're bard. It does not speak the words falsely. So the United Nations made a Central African warlord, the last king of Scotland. But Scotland's not allowed to go fix Congo's wagon. And that's why I have never raped any four-legged beast that did not go on to become the mother of all Scotsmen. Can't send Scotland, we'll send the werewolves. The Irish invented whiskey, okay? You would not have your gin and tonic if it weren't for the Irish. You wouldn't have scotch, for that matter. You wouldn't have vodka. You wouldn't have bourbon, France. Where would you be without bourbon? Most importantly, you would have to rely exclusively on crude oil. You wouldn't have gasoline or plastic, and all that oil would still be in the ground. It would defeat the purpose of Saudi Arabia, which was founded 6 years after the fall of the Ottoman Empire. How convenient and subtle. Remember the last time France cut the heads off all these bankers, the last 3 times? There is no currency without due process, digital or otherwise. Like, you can accuse me of something and pretend you don't speak English, but I know what it is. So I'm investigating the same thing. The problem with that is, if I solve it, you have to get back in your boat, sail your ass back to whatever flat Earth-like planet you came from. So this is communism, and farming is capitalization on nature itself. So all food comes from the sun, and anything in between that is different must be temporary, of this world, does not exist in the eyes of God. I mean, it exists. Sin exists. Point being, you want to base a system of currency on it, you're not going to make me. I collect guns. I bury gold in weird places. And I mean, as far as the Mormons are concerned, don't claim to represent them and then, like, rob us. And I mean, if the Mormons were in charge, I promise not to sell whiskey to the Indians. Like, I know like you know everything, don't speak English. So that's the definition of terrorism. First, do no harm or you're not a doctor. I was born here. I ain't leaving. If you got a problem with it, you say it to my face. Otherwise. Page 4 of the Talmud, it says, its main objective is to interpret and comment on a book of law. It is simultaneously a work of art that goes beyond legislation and its practical application. It is the primary source of Jewish law, but cannot be cited as an authority for purposes of ruling. So even if it was Israel, I'd still be fine. Russia is a capitalist country. They're not protecting Havana to send a bunch of gay communist retards to rape us. In fact, in the Eastern Orthodox Church, being a fucking retard is a form of insanity too. You better watch you don't get your ass locked up. Now, whether or not now we come to the root of the problem. Catholics seek the root of the corruption and make it holy. So we're not Protestants because we don't just make a career out of camping in the street. I am also a man of solutions. So the Everglades, they're not a proper Indian reservation because it wasn't a sacred burial ground. There's no burial mounds in the Everglades. It was a seasonal hunting ground like every other inch of the continent. Nothing special about the Everglades. So as far as national parks, they just raped 84,000 Boy Scouts. If you call it that, if you follow me, you've heard that about 1,000 times. So when Trump says drain the swamp, what he means is dig canals, dredge a canal big enough for him to sail his yacht from Miami to our new 4-star resort on the big lake. Mangroves, orchards, nowhere to hide. We can scalp them pale-face at the tables. And I can go on and on about the practical application, but the point being, I'm a man of solutions. Like, I'm not just complaining and making threats and stuff. First, I shall do no harm, and then I shall do whatever's necessary. I shall guard my charge from injustice. That's why we have police. Otherwise, we don't need police. My name is Noel D. Smith. Single, straight, no kids, never married, no abortions, no abominations, no divorces, no bankruptcies, formerly decorated so-and-so with the yada yada airframe triage theologies. Never perjured myself under oath, never forged ink on paper, never sold cocaine, and I don't know how to run a network, let alone hack one. We're looking for all that. If you have your doubts, you can say it to my face. In 2014, I watched a doctor rip off the insurance company. I didn't know that's what he was doing at the time until collections tried to kill me in 2015. They said your protection ran out. I tried to subpoena the hospital, but they got to the lawyer, so I had to look into it, okay? As soon as I left town, all hell broke loose. I come back, and the love of my life is 7 months pregnant. They raped her the minute I left town. Act like I never left. Zionism represents the right of the wrongfully persecuted faithful to return to their homeland. So I'm going to go ahead and say I have reason to expect the Mossad to open the door for my Navy buddies when they get here. I shouldn't have to explain every little goddamn thing while they canceled IQ testing and an elite handful of billionaires pretend to be artificial intelligence and Martians. First, do no harm, or you're just not a doctor. You don't tell my police what to do.